Well, Sam, thanks for joining us to set up this new season. I mean, we're 2 months into the real season now. How big a leap psychologically is it for a bowler going from red ball into white ball?
Yeah, pretty different, to be fair. I think obviously there's times in T20 where you're always trying to get a wicket as a bowler, but there's times where you've got to probably think, how am I saving runs more than taking wickets at times? And yeah, it's a very different sort of tactical sort of game to deal with. Obviously in red ball cricket you've probably got more time to set a batsman up and to sort of get into your spell. In T20 you just don't have that time. You've got to be on it from ball one and obviously thinking on your feet very quickly. So yeah, it's a very different mindset to a red ball game, but one that I enjoy and relish nonetheless. It's
one that you've seemed to have got used to over the last 3, maybe 4 years. You certainly seem to have got your technique sorted in terms of what you need to do strategically in the T20. You must feel a lot more confident now.
Yeah, I think the big thing I've said for a while is there's nothing really that can prepare you for first team sort of blast cricket. It's obviously extremely intense, playing against unbelievable players day in, day out, week in, week out. And no matter how much sort of academy second team cricket you can play, it doesn't really sort of prepare you like playing in the blast does. So the more you play in the blast, the better sort of equipped you become for it, which is obviously inevitable with experience. I think you learn more about yourself as a bowler and obviously the players you're playing against. So experience is invaluable, I think, in this competition, obviously. And I think in our team we've obviously got a good blend of youth and experience. And I think the likes of us who have played a bit more T20 cricket now have to draw on those experiences a lot.
And you're able to call on the advice, I suppose, of people like Daniel Sams coming into the mix. What have you learnt from our Australian import?
Yeah, loads. Obviously he's played T20 cricket all around the world. Obviously played at the IPL, Big Bash, all the sort of the big leagues and on the international stage as well. So he's brought insight and different sort of tactics and different ideas. And I think whenever you have an overseas player come in, it's foolish of you not to try and tap into their experiences. So we've chatted a lot obviously about trying to swing the new ball, how we get that ball moving off the straight. That's a way in which we feel that we can have one over on the opening bats in the power play, because at times it can be a pretty one-sided affair, bowling versus bat in the power play. So yeah, obviously he brings a wealth of experience and is a really valuable member of this team, and looking forward to having him back again this year.
And the death ball, the slower ball, that you seem to have found a few different options with that. I guess when you're playing in the 100 and stuff, as you did so successfully last season, that sort of experience and practice in those scenarios is invaluable when you're taking it forward now.
Usually I think you can have 100 different slower balls, but if you don't practice them enough and you don't know when to use them, I think for me that's the key. A lot of it is timing. You can have as many different skills and as many different deliveries as you want, but if you don't know when to implement them and you're not confident enough to execute that skill, the batters even are just too good now. You can't get away with it, and even at times you do execute that still and you still get out of the park. So I think it's about being at peace with yourself as a bowler and understanding that there's times where you are going to go for boundaries and you are going to get hit, but there's ways in which you can do it, and understanding where you're more likely to pick up the wickets and make it as hard for a batter as you can. So for me, obviously the slower balls have been a big addition to my sort of weaponry, and I think for me probably the experience, as I said earlier, feeds into learning when to bowl those different balls and the timing and the sequencing of your over, and that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned sort of progressing through playing more T20 cricket and in the 100 as well.
You say being at peace with yourself. I'm sure from the bowling perspective, that mental resilience is absolutely critical, because you know it's going to happen. You're going to go for boundaries, for maximums, whatever it is, and it's therefore being able to bounce back. You've been around the Eagles setup now for a while. Chelmsford boy, of course you are. Do you see that mental resilience coming through the group now because of what you've achieved, what you haven't achieved, and an awareness of what is possible?
Definitely. I think as you say, sort of the resilience and the mental side of it, I think you only have to look at the likes of the IPL and sort of international T20 cricket. The best bowlers in the world go for 50 at times in T20 cricket. It's not making them a bad bowler, and they shouldn't ever be judged by one game where you go for for a few, because I think that's one thing that we're all starting to learn now, and to understand how much the game has changed. Even when I started playing T20 cricket, what was perceived to be a good day out with the ball now, is completely different to what it is now. So
it's a changing world.
Exactly, the game is changing so quickly, and almost understanding, especially at Chelmsford, like you say, that you've got to have resilience as a bowler, because it is an extremely high scoring ground in T20 cricket, and the South Group in general. We have a lot smaller grounds than the North Group, so your sort of expectations of the bowler, sort of, you probably do get a little bit more wiggle room. But I think as a group, in terms of our resilience, I think again it boils down to that experience. We've got a group now. We've probably, since sort of 2018-19, we've gone through a bit of a transition, obviously losing sort of some more experienced players, as younger guys like myself who have sort of had to come into it and learn pretty quickly. And now I feel like we saw sort of last year sort of glimpses of how talented and how good this team can be. I think it only will come from playing more cricket that we are going to start building up that resilience and sort of learning how to win more, which we did last year, and we really, I think, put some statement performances down. And like I said, how impressive this team could be, and I think like you say, Chelmsford, it sort of breeds that sort of resilience, and it's a tough place for away teams to come, and we want to make sure that that's continued this year, and it really becomes a fortress again.
And the evolution of the Eagles is continuing apace. I think there has, as you say, there has been frustration within the fans, obviously, because they want to see 2019 success again. But we are seeing and have seen glimpses of it. Now it's a matter of stitching it together, getting some momentum in this tournament, and then seeing where we go from there.
100%. I think if we're honest, in 2019 we probably weren't ready to win it as a team. I think we obviously got on a run, and like you can in this form of cricket, momentum is the key word. I think last year we certainly had that momentum. Obviously it was a shame to slip up in that one game against Lancashire, but I think what we did do is we didn't change our game plan at all. We kept playing with the same freedom, the same brand of cricket that we played all tournament that had done us so well. And I think the fans probably saw last year just how far we've come in a very short space of time as a team. And like I touched on earlier, some of those performances we put on, especially at home last year, were as good as you'll see from a T20 side. So looking around the dressing room, we've definitely got players now that can really compete and can really put us, and we know where we should be, and that's at finals day at the end of this tournament, and that's what our goal is going to be.